Hello, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, it is a special day. It is Thursday that we are doing this. Also, 7 minutes late because Restream decided to give us even more trouble, as it tends to do. This is going to be the shortest stream that we've done in a long time. So let's kind of go through this as quick as we can. How are you doing, buddy? What's going on?
Well, I don't know what was going on because every time I tried to go live, it wouldn't go live. Then you tried it once and it worked. So
yeah, it was your problem. It was your fault, actually.
So thank you for tuning in. We got a couple things, Aaron Glenn, to talk about, a couple trade things. We'll preview what is probably going to be their 7th loss in a row against the Carolina Panthers, unless some incredible act of God happens and they have a real offense with no NFL receivers. That's where they're at. So you can find us, though, Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there, and we're on YouTube, so you can like the stream there. You can subscribe there, do all that good stuff there. Hype us up, join our membership. All of that is on YouTube. Thank you for that. So let's just get into it, because it's going to be a little bit of a truncated show because of different logistical things. But thanks for joining us.
I was in Vegas.
I was in Vegas, yeah.
Living it up. I told you a lead to a story right before. I won't mention it on the show, but had a fun time. Good time in Vegas.
We'll let that quote hang in the air for a little bit, and let's go to some comments from Aaron Glenn. I know Justin's pretty worked up about him. I'm less worked up about him because there is no ideal way to handle the media when your team's 0-6. Like, no matter what you say, there's always going to be people that are picking it. And this isn't a Glenn defense. This is just the reality of football, that when you're this bad, they're always going to get on you. Like, I remember we were talking about this, about the Dan Campbell comparisons. I went back and looked up what people were saying about Dan Campbell, because you always heard, oh, at least Dan Campbell had him playing hard. I'm like, nah, it sounded exactly the same. Just at least what people were saying about their teams, except Aaron Glenn is black and Dan Campbell is white. Those are the only differences. Other than that, they were saying the exact same things. So I get that. But Aaron Glenn has not made it easy on himself, and he has not said things that will cushion the blow. One thing that I think really stood out, obviously the Fields, what kind of question is that? Then he comes out and gets all passive-aggressive, like, you guys are always going to write when he messes something up. Well, yeah, when you have -10 passing yards, there's going to be negative things written about Justin Fields. The blind loyalty this entire staff is showing to him is really weird. The problem with Glenn, it's twofold. Number one, I remember when he was asked about Rodgers early on, he was shutting the media down. We're not going to talk about that to try to control the narrative. And I think he was right to do that.
Agreed.
He's doing that with legitimate questions. Like there's the New York media gets overhyped as this big scary thing, but there are questions where Rich Cimini or Brian Costello, whoever, are clearly angling to get him to say something for a story. And he knows that because he played here for a long time. So there are some things he shuts down. I get it. But this is not them trying to sow discord in the locker room by criticizing Justin Fields. That's not what they're doing here. This is different. I think he misread that. And as we mentioned before, the other thing that I think Aaron Glenn messed up when he came here was not that he sold us a bag of goods here in terms of in terms of what he was going to do. I think the problem he made was he thought the Jets roster was a lot better than it was, and he came in saying, we can win now. If he came in saying, look, I like these guys, but it's a while. The Rodgers thing just happened. We got to build this thing up. If he came in with that, I mean, it still wouldn't be positive because they're 0-6, but they would have cushioned the blow a little bit, like Kellen Moore in New Orleans. The Saints are competitive. They're still 1-5 and needed like 5 turnovers to get the win.
Well, it's like when Saleh and Douglas came in and they're like, this is an expansion team caliber roster. It's going to take years. And that literally bought them more time by saying that.
Yeah. Glenn didn't do that because he said, oh, this team is better. This team can win right now. And then 2 weeks in, I think he realized, oh boy, they can't win now. And now he has to kind of backtrack, which you can't really do when you come out with that much bravado. So I don't think these comments are necessarily like unbecoming of a head coach. I think it's a first-time head coach who's really struggling, and he's come from an organization that's pretty much won nonstop for the last 3 years, so his crisis management skills are not what they were. But these comments are certainly not going to be anything that endears him to a fan base, especially nowadays when you're the only winless team. And really, after the defense played well, really the only move you can make right now to improve this team's fortunes is by making a quarterback change. And he didn't even think that's a real possibility. So because of that, he's digging himself a hole that he didn't need to dig. He's in a hole because his team stinks, and then he's just making it worse.
Look, I want to preface this by saying that listeners of this show who have been following us for a couple of years now, and anybody who knows me personally, knows that I don't really give a shit about press conferences normally. I can count on one hand the amount of times that even on the show I've ever been like, yeah, he shouldn't have said that. I don't like what this coach said in this press conference. Like players, I think sometimes I'm a little bit more critical of if they're like the soft stuff, not taking accountability. But most of the time, coaches are pretty well trained with this stuff, and it's just coach speak. Like we were talking before the show, Mike, about like Tanner Engstrand saying, he kind of defending Fields a little bit, like you need to be more aggressive, but we like some of the stuff we've seen. That's coach speak. I don't really care about coach speak. What I do care is about a couple of things that Aaron Glenn has said over the last couple of days that I think have been as disastrous as a coach can handle press conferences. We can start with the field stuff, but it's not just that. It's, before we start with the field stuff, let's talk about the obvious. Let's talk about the Nick Folk shit, the explanation that he provided, because we didn't get to talk about this, Mike, on the post-game show on Sunday, and this has been stewing with me for a while. That was about as big of a red flag that I've seen from Aaron Glenn during his time with the Jets, like how badly he mismanaged that situation. Because, for those who don't remember, it was the late game situation where the Jets faced a 4th and 8 from their own, or from the 44-yard line, I believe it was.
So it would have been a 62-yard field goal or try to convert on 4th and 8.
Right. It would have been 61, 62 yards with Nick Folk. He made a 58-yarder a couple of weeks ago. Not like he didn't clear it by that much, but he made it. Or you try and convert a 4th and 8. Now, I think you can make an argument for both situations. I said after the show, I think they were probably better off kicking it, given the state of their offense at the time. But I think you could have made an argument for either way. I don't think him going for it there is the malpractice here. It is what he said after the show. It is how he explained the decision to go for it. Because Aaron Glenn, when he was asked about that decision, made it seem as though, and I don't want to use that word, like phrase. He said that he thought it was a 68 or a 65-yard field goal. That's what he said. That's what he told reporters. That's not true. It was a 61-yard field goal, 62 maybe if the hold is, a couple inches further back. He also said that the target line for the Jets, that the target line for that drive where they felt comfortable trotting out Nick Folk to kick a field goal was the 35-yard line. That's a 52-yard field goal. This is not 1995. Nick Folk made a 52-yard field goal earlier in that game. He made a 58-yard field goal a couple of weeks ago. That is a damning admission.
You think it's semantics, like a comfortable meaning, like I guess the difference between he could make it and we know he can make it?
He didn't say comfortable. He said their target line was the 35. That's what he said. Now, if they were at the 37, did they kick it? Probably. I don't know. Yeah. That's what he said after the game was two things that were asinine, in my opinion. First, just insisting that he didn't even know what the yard, like he was way off on how long this field goal actually was.
Like 7 yards, yeah.
To the point where if he knew it was a 61-yarder, maybe he does trot out Nick Folk, and maybe the Jets win that game, right? Like that is horrific game management on Aaron Glenn's part, and him admitting it after the game and kind of just bumbling about, showing how little he was prepared for that situation is a really bad look. And again, I know he's 6 games into his head coaching career. That was the biggest red flag that I've heard from Glenn. But that's one thing. And then it's the Justin Fields stuff. And again, this is not about Aaron Glenn sticking with Justin Fields. It's not about Aaron Glenn defending Justin Fields, because I would expect every head coach to defend their players. They're not. The last thing I would want Glenn to do is for him to come up there and be like, yeah, Justin Fields sucked today, and he's the reason we lost. You don't say that. That's not what I'm asking Aaron Glenn to say. And also, while I do think it is time to move to Tyrod Taylor, and I thought they should have made the switch at halftime last week, I thought they should have made the switch now. That's not even the reason I'm upset. I think you can make a case for sticking with Justin Fields, and I understand that thinking. It's the fact that when Aaron Glenn was asked about, hey, maybe you guys, are you considering a QB change? Is that even a thought in your mind after the performance that we just saw? After a performance that was one of the most inept performances I've ever seen from a Jets quarterback. And like we said on Sunday,
statistically too,
I've seen Bryce Petty play for this team. I've seen Luke Falk, Tim Boyle play for this team. That was one of the most inept performances I've ever seen from Jets quarterback. So Brian Costello asks him after the game, are you guys even, considering, is there a thought to consider a QB change?
No way. You kidding me? That's what he said.
If Glenn goes, no, that's not something we're considering.
We're evaluating everything would have been coached.
We're evaluating everything. We're to watch the tape. Justin Fields.
That typically means yes, by the way. If they say we're evaluating everything, that means they're benching him.
If what he could have said is Justin Fields is our starter, we stand by him, we know he needs to be better. That's it. That's it. That's all he needs to say. Because what that says, if
that would have been okay with you, though, not the general public, I still think.
I
right?
don't fuck. I'm talking my opinion. And I'm not even kidding. I don't care. This isn't about me, right? Let me make that clear. Because the point I'm making here is that I don't give a shit if Brian Costello's feelings are hurt, if Aaron Glenn is snarky with him. I don't give Rich Cimini's a big boy. He's not going to care if Aaron Glenn is passive aggressive. That's not the point. The point is that the media is asking valid questions. The question that Glenn is being asked is, would you consider possibly making a quarterback change after this horrific performance? And he shoots it down, mocks the question in a combative and passive aggressive way. That is sending a message, not just to the media, because the media is echoing the sentiment that fans are feeling. But guess who else is feeling that same way, Mike? Guess who else is echoing that?
Players.
Players in the locker room. And so if players in the locker room hear Aaron Glenn say that mocking what they're probably thinking in their head, and this is not based off nothing. Connor Hughes literally reported that several players in the Jets locker room believe Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback. I cannot imagine after Justin Fields' performance against the Broncos that a lot of players in the locker room aren't feeling that same way as well. I don't know if you saw this, Mike. I think it was Nania shared this tweet. It was after Fields took his 8th sack of the day, which wasn't even his last. He took another one.
Was that the one Kurt Warner freaked out on him on? Or?
I don't know, dude. That was wild.
That was wild.
I don't want to get involved in that. But it was a play. Armand Membu, after Fields took his 8th sack, jumping up and down, really mad. Like, these players are going to be mad, and they're not.
And he played with Brady Cook in college,
right? Yes,
and he's mad about a guy taking bad sacks.
They're not saying it in pressers, right? And they're not going to, and nor should they. But I know for a fact there is frustration boiling over in the Jets locker room. So if you have your head coach, this is the thing that pissed me off on Twitter the last couple of when I was in Vegas, tweeting about Justin Fields and Aaron Glenn, where I criticized another thing that Glenn said it was yesterday, where he once again was mocking the media, mocking the question, like, how dare we? Offensive to even question that Justin Fields might not be the starter, right? He took offense by this. And I was like, this is just, he should not be handling it this way. Because I don't give a shit if it's hurting the media's feelings. I don't care. That's not the point.
Well, it's not the media's feel. It's
that's what people were
saying. The narrative wouldn't necessarily change nationally.
People are upset that they think that I'm trying to say, oh, it's hurting the media's feelings, or oh, it's hurting my feelings because fuck me, fuck the media. I don't care about that. The players are who matter. That's who matter. Their opinions are who matter. And they are like, I can't speak for everyone in that locker room, but I know there's frustration. And so if they're seeing the same things we're seeing, and they're the ones going out there, and especially the defense, the offensive line, like they're getting screwed over by their quarterback, they're probably not going to like if their head coach is mocking the thought, even the possibility of making a quarterback change. Like, that is the issue that I have with how he's handled these pressers.
So let's get to a couple comments and then we'll move on because we got to keep it a little brisk here today. I will say maybe it's like what people always say Aaron Boone does with the Yankees, where supposedly in the background he gives them hell, and then to the media he's very player positive. Unless that's happened, which I don't know if that is. It might be, it might not be. But it doesn't appear that way. Because again, Boone has gotten crap. Boone wins more, but like he's always gotten crap for like being overly positive in certain situations. That might be the only way. If he could have reamed Fields out in the locker room and then just said, like, we like him, he's our guy. I don't know.
Really quick before we get to the comments, I thought about this earlier today, actually. And I think a big reason that he is being as defensive and almost like babying Fields as much as he is because he doesn't, and he's actually said this was a quote from Aaron Glenn. He said he doesn't want Fields looking over his shoulder, because you saw what happened in Pittsburgh last year, where, even though Fields, the Pittsburgh got off to a 4-2 start, he kind of knew, and everyone in that locker room kind of knew that Russ is coming back. Russ is going to come back. And once he comes back, there's no guarantee Fields get the starting job. I think the Jets wanted to give Fields every possible guarantee that this is his job. He has nothing to worry about because they don't want him getting in his head. I
honestly don't hate that.
No, I do. And I truly understand that sentiment. Unfortunately, it gets to a point where his feelings don't matter and you have to win football games, because guess what? If you're babying him and you're caring so much about his feelings, well, you're alienating the rest of the locker room. And that is a big issue.
I guess the other thing though, too, is what he maybe wants to avoid before we get to the comments is we bench Fields and then Tyrod comes in, he's bad, and then we put Fields back in, and then it's in and out.
No, you don't.
But we're past that point, Rowan's. Early in the season, I would get that, but I think at this point, the situation calls for it.
I mean, there's so many comments I forgot. Like, he also is like, you don't bench Fields after he had one true bad game. Brother, what?
Did you see Steven Ruiz, by the way, who I like? He was like, Fields been playing fine this year.
No, he hasn't watched Fields. Like, how
I mean, allegedly he is for those quarterback rankings. I don't know.
How can you watch? Like, even if we're going to say he somehow played all right against Miami and Dallas, which I thought he did for one quarter of each of those games, he played well. For the other 3 quarters, he stunk. How can you watch that Bills game and say that, Justin
Fields played well?
He's played one bad game this year.
He's played 2 bad games.
Either Aaron Glenn's straight up lying, which I don't think he is, because he's very authentic when he's up there on that podium, or he genuinely forgot. He forgot about how bad of a performance that was.
Or that was just again the oh my goodness, the Denver game was more of Fields himself being terrible, because Buffalo,
everyone was bad. Yeah,
literally there was not a single player on the team that played well in the Bills game. Yeah. Denver, they had guys who played well, and Fields almost single-handedly took a win and punted it 8 rows into the stands.
It's not that they had guys. The entire team played well. They did everything
except Fields.
That was about as perfect of a performance as you could expect from this Jets team.
In that situation against that team.
Like, the special teams was awesome. The defense was awesome. They won the turnover battle. They
neutral field, everything. Yeah,
they had 2 penalties. I mean, you could not have asked for a better team performance. Again, and that's the point. It's like, guys are going to be pissed. They're going to be mad if you not only continue to start Fields, but you're mocking the sentiment that Fields is even the issue. Like, that's the issue.
Okay, let's get to a couple member comments first, because I've been putting them off for a little bit. Getting to that before we move on. Dan from New York, is it time to consider a fire sale? We'll get into that later, but
yeah,
possibly.
We'll talk trade stuff very soon.
And then, again, Dan from New York, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'd rather see Wilson start for us than Fields right now. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't, but given that, like, I would have rather had a Zach Wilson game than that last Justin Fields game. That was more infuriating than any Zach Wilson game.
If Zach Wilson was QB2 right now, I would still say start Fields.
I agree. I agree, and that's the other thing people have mentioned. It's like, well, when we were saying, bench Zach, and they brought in Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle, it's like
they had nobody. As Brian Sternbeck, he was getting to that point too, where he said it's one thing for Saleh to be defensive about Wilson after drafting him 2nd overall. Glenn has to be cognizant Fields was always a bridge quarterback more than a franchise face, and a bridge quarterback with a much better backup plan than Zach ever had.
And I think I really do think he knows that. I don't think when Aaron Glenn is on the podium, expressing all this optimism and confidence in Fields, I don't believe he's actually that confident. I believe he's saying that because he really doesn't want to hurt, like, not to put it like childish, but he doesn't want to hurt Fields' confidence.
Like, he doesn't have a lot of confidence already. What, do you want to destroy it more and then start it again? Yeah.
Why he's doing this. But you can do that in a way that's not mocking the sentiment. That's the point. He's coming at this not aggressively, that's the wrong word, combatively and passive aggressively. And that's not the right way to handle it. But, like, again, if they win games, none of this shit matters. Like, I can't stress that enough. If the Jets are 2-4 right now, and they probably would be if it wasn't for some in-game mismanagement, couple of lucky, bad breaks, and also terrible quarterback performances. If they're 2-4, I'm not getting on Glenn as much about this. But they're 0-6. He's being combative to the media, and as a result, his fan base and his players in the locker room. I think he's really not doing himself any favors. This fan base wants to see him succeed. They want to see this regime succeed. This is not how he should be handling his pressers. And I really hope he considers handling it differently moving forward.
Marcelo Cabrera, by the way, YouTube made a change where they show you like the @ username and not the regular name, which I really don't like, but
oh yeah,
that's what they're doing now. Marcelo Cabrera, man, Aaron Glenn is PR dog shit. Can't understand how he defends Fields so much after making his whole preseason about accountability.
Yeah, we just talked about a lot of that. Like, I understand why he's
accountability operates a lot differently than the rest of the roster.
And again, I try to understand I try to understand from the perspective of why is Aaron Glenn saying this? Like, Aaron Glenn is a smart man who knows more about football than I ever will know in my entire life, and knows more about football than everybody listening to this right now.
Great player,
awesome, and a great dude. Like, I don't want to criticize Aaron Glenn. I want him to succeed, man. But like, I just think that he's clouded in his judgment right now, and he's not understanding the impact that what he's saying might have on the locker room. I think that's the biggest issue.
And it's one thing if it's like, well, we gotta get more games of Fields to see if he can. Like, I think we're past the point of like he can be the guy.
We're 5 years in. We're 5 years into his career, and he's not only making the same mistakes. I mean, he's had 2 of the worst games of his entire. You could argue he's had the 2 worst games of his entire career in his 5 starts with the Jets.
That first game he played with the Bears might be the worst.
Oh, with the Bills, yeah, with the Bills.
No. I think he played the Browns and he got sacked like 9 times again. It was his first start. Game?
Yeah, I mean, he's had 2 of the 3 worst games of his entire career then in his 5 games with the Jets.
Marcelo, I know you weren't a Zach Wilson believer. That's very generous. But even Zach Wilson knew better about accountability than in that last season. Not true. Remember, he didn't even want to play.
Yeah, I don't know if Zach Wilson.
I didn't let the defense. I would argue Zach is still worse.
Well, that wasn't the last season. Wasn't that 2022 that he said that?
And then 2023 was
when he said I didn't let the defense down. I forgot.
No. 2022 was I didn't let the defense down. 2023 was I'm so scared I don't even want to play.
Yes, that's when he voluntarily benched himself.
That's when he quit. He quit. He quit on the Jets.
Yes, 2022. The lack of accountability with which I mean, I get it to an extent, but also not good for your career. He hasn't played. He played one drive since with the Dolphins in 2022 when he was asked, do you feel like you let the defense down? And he said no. Like that.
That was bad. Yeah, at least Fields said I played badly. Like
no, I've got no issues with anything Fields is saying. I think Fields is what the hell is he supposed to say, right? Like he's like, I haven't been good. I need to be better. I want to be more aggressive.
And you always want your quarterback in a good mood. So I got not burying the guy, but come on,
he looks miserable up there too, man. I feel real bad for him.
Yeah, like we said this on the post game stream. Like for his sake, just put him on ice for 2 games or 3 games, then you can bring him back. Like he's clearly
the thing is he
needs to decompress so badly.
He told reporters yesterday that he's been dealing with like his legs have not felt right. That's what he said.
And that's what makes him good is his legs.
Right. He said he suffered a quote huge contusion in that Miami game, and not coincidentally, he has not run the ball effectively at all the last 2 games. The Jets have really not called many design runs for him. They're kind of just using him as a drop back passer, which obviously he can't do.
That's not why you get him.
Right. But I wonder how much of that is game plan and mismanagement from the offensive staff, and how much of that is, well, Fields isn't healthy right now. We can't be doing that. Like, I don't know. Right. Either way, he said he's feeling better.
Well, then why play him if he's hurt?
I agree. But he said he's feeling better this week. Hopefully they get him out, rolling out more, get him on the move. I mean, no matter what, like if he's performing like he just did against Denver, there's nothing they could do. But I think they could be doing more.
I think if he does have another Denver game, I do think they bench him.
Yeah, I agree. If he does that against Carolina,
I mean, he's not going to do a Denver game again. But if
he does that even close to that against Carolina's defense, it is time. It's time mid-game at that point.
Let's go talk some trades.
Yep.
Because there are a couple players that the Jets are going to get rid of at the deadline. Oh, Alan Lazard is as good as gone. Even with the injuries, I think he's as good as gone. He doesn't want to be there. As Justin saw on social media, some players may not be too keen on having Alan Lazard.
I won't say the names, but I did tweet out like Alan Lazard for Chris Pie 5 when it was like the Steelers looking for wide receiver, and multiple Jets players did like that tweet. So I think it's kind of an understood thing in the locker room. He's probably doesn't want to be there. He's probably gone.
And the funny thing is, just pure talent-wise, if Garrett doesn't play, he's probably the best receiver on the team. Pure talent.
God, what?
I don't think that's a crazy.
It's not. That's disgusting, though. It's not.
That is rank.
Yeah.
That is Darren Muji's one mistake he's made this offseason.
Mike. How we should do this is I want to give you a player, and we're both going to kind of just like these will be pretty quick discussions. I think next week we could have an even more in-depth like trade deadline discussion and even going into the bye because the Jets have their bye week, I think, right at the deadline.
Right at the deadline, yep.
Perfect time to talk about that. So we can get into more intense conversations with these guys later, but just gun to your head right now, like percentage chance of these players being traded. Let's start with the obvious one, the guy we talked about a ton last week, who is probably the most frequently mentioned in terms of Jets trade rumors, Breece Hall. We talked about this at length last week, so we don't have to get into the full conversation. If you want to hear our thoughts on that last week's show, we had a long conversation kind of looking at both perspectives of it. I think there's valid arguments to keep him and there's valid arguments to trade him. But right now, Mike, if you were to predict what are the odds Breece Hall is traded, what would you say?
70%. If I'm GM, 5%. But I think it's 70%.
Oh, wow, you're that adamant about keeping him.
Well, because here's the thing. As I've mentioned before, if Garrett's out for a couple weeks, you said jokingly on a stream once, if Garrett misses any time, they should run the single wing or triple option.
Yes.
We're at that point. And now you have no Braylon Allen. So it's Isaiah Davis, Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith.
Are you not a Lawrence Toafili believer?
I am not a Lawrence Toafili. I'm not a Khalil Herbert believer.
I don't even think he's on the practice squad anymore. I think they cut him.
I am not a Caitlin Herbert. I went to school with Caitlin Herbert. I don't know why I said that.
Shout out Caitlin Herbert.
I went to high school with her.
What about a Keelan Robinson? Can I interest you?
I am not. Keelan Robinson barely even played at Texas.
His Jets signed him to their practice squad, and within a week, he ended up on the practice squad IR and has not been activated.
Trent Irwin, a wide receiver wearing 38. That'll be.
He was a worse Denard Robinson.
Remember Trenton Cannon?
Yes, Virginia State.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Listen to him right about now. He'd probably get on this team.
Fantastic name for a running back.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Incredible
name. I'm so upset he didn't work out because of that name.
I know. And he was a returner, too.
It's anyway. No John Connor for a fullback, but...
Terminator, I know.
The Terminator.
But I'm not going to be with you with the 5% on they should trade him.
Well, because not only that, too, but if you're thinking long-term, you either have to, if you get rid of Brees, that means you're either going into 2026 with Braylon Allen RB1, which I don't necessarily want to do. You're either going to pay a guy in free agency anyway, it's a very weak class, and Brees would be the best guy available. And on top of that, if you're picking a quarterback number 1 overall or very high in the draft, wherever they end up picking, if you drop him in a situation that already doesn't have weapons, and now you get rid of Brees, so now you need a new running back, you need 2 more wide receivers. That's a lot of building for a rookie quarterback. And if it's not perfect, Cam Ward, Tennessee, there can be some problems no matter how you pick him. So Brees, actually, I think, even though he's going to cost a lot, this team has some cap space next year. I don't think it's going to be very easy to replace him. I don't think getting a 4th-round pick or a conditional 3rd if he plays enough games is going to give you the ammunition you need to replace him that quickly.
I want to rewind to what I said last week or 2 weeks ago when I proposed Rico Dowdle as a solution, and now look at him, man. Was I on to something or what? Was I right?
Yeah, because you knew he was going to run for 200 yards in consecutive games.
Subconsciously, I think I did.
You also said Chuba was better than Brees.
Yeah, well, hold on. We don't gotta repeat everything I said. I'm not right about everything.
Oh, okay.
I'm not right all the time. I'm a human.
Look, I said Dalvin Cook will be good, but accountability.
Right.
Accountability is the big thing.
Our running back takes a bit hit or miss.
Mostly miss lately.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm still in favor of I don't know what Dowdle's contract's gonna look like now. It's gonna depend on what the hell happened the rest of the season, but I don't think that would be. I think if you replace him with a mid-tier vet, like a Dowdle, who maybe is not a mid-tier vet at this point, I don't know.
He's going to command a good amount of money, I think, if he keeps this up. So why not just pay Brees?
And he might deserve it, honestly, given what he's doing. I understand why Jets fans want to keep Brees Hall. We don't got to rehash this whole thing, but my take is still, I don't think he is a transcendent talent, and I don't think he'll be worth the contract that he's been given or that he's looking for. I think he's having a good year. I think he's not having a great year, but I think he's having a very good year. But we also have seen him play at a very, very poor level. 2024, he was, I thought, 20th best running back in the league. Maybe that's being generous. He had 9 drops, 6 fumbles.
Where is he now then?
I think he's 13th best running back, 12th.
I was going to say maybe 11 or 10, probably.
Roughly the same range. I don't think he's this game-changing running back, and I'm not sure he is going to be that. I think he's just too inconsistent of a runner for that. I mean, look, I could also see a situation where he goes to Kansas City and he kills it because that's a really good situation for him. The running back position is so, we talk about this a lot, but it's not replaceable is the wrong word, but it's very situation dependent. And I think if you put Rico Dowdle on this Jets team right now, I know I keep using him as an example, right? But if you put him on this team, are they much worse? I don't think so. I think
are they better is the question.
I think you're getting roughly the same production and you're paying a guy a lot less while you're also relying on Braylon.
Is it a lot less though? Let's say Rico gets I don't know, $8 million a year on the open if he keeps
and Brees is getting for a couple. Yeah, I'd rather and
Brees is going to get what 11?
Brees gets I think Brees gets 11 or 12.
Maybe Kyron Williams got 11, so
yeah, Cook got 12. I think he gets 12 somewhere around 11 to 12. I don't know.
Maybe the $4 million really burned a hole in your pocket.
I think I'm lower on Brees than others. Well, it's also you got to remember the opportunity cost because you're also getting a 4th-round pick probably. So that's also part of it too. You're getting a 4th-round pick in return. That's not nothing. A 4th-round pick is. I know it's not nothing.
It's not Brees replacement guy though.
No, but again, you can use the money you save to sign a guy who will give you very similar production while also having Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, 2 running backs you drafted who have, I think, proven to be NFL caliber backs. I don't know if they're, what their ceiling is, and I'm not sure they're ready to handle a major workload, but I'd like to see Isaiah Davis get an opportunity to handle more of a workload this year. But I think you have a capable running back room outside of Brees Hall at a point where you don't have to worry about paying him $12 million. You can use that money to invest in other positions like edge rusher, like wide receiver.
Well, they're going to have that anyway with the cap space, though.
Well, they can have even more. Like you can never have enough cap space. I don't. Frankly, I don't know if Breece Hall is worth the money that he's going to be getting. I think I'm just lower on Breece Hall than other people. But we don't have to rehash this whole thing. Yeah. We had a whole in-depth conversation about this last week, and I thought it was a really good combo.
Before we move on to the next guy, S. Jones 4590. Braylon before the injury was not much worse than Breece. That's not true. There was a clear. You knew when Breece was on the field and when Braylon.
Yeah, Breece is better, but I also think like if they had Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis the rest of the way, I don't think they're getting much of a drop in rushing production.
Yeah, but they don't. So you got to for a team that needs to win games, you got to factor that.
But I also care a lot less about 2025 than I do about the next few years when you're going to have that Breece contract and you're going to have to make offseason decisions. Obviously, it factors in, which is why we talked about this last week, that it is more complicated now that Breece, that Braylon Allen is hurt and Garrett Wilson is now hurt, so he's missing some time. Like that absolutely factors in. But it's not enough to sway me to not trade him. But this isn't about what we think, Mike. This is not about what we want the Jets to do. It's
next guy. Let's see.
Well, let me say. I want to say my prediction. I think like 75%. So I'm right there with you. You said 70% for Breece Hall. I'll say 75%. Next guy, another player who I think is fairly likely to be traded. He's currently injured, but I don't know what the timeline is, but I think there's a very good chance he's not on the roster next year. Quincy Williams. What do you put the percentage on that he's traded?
33.
Whoa, I'm higher.
Only because
I'm higher than you for sure.
I think you maybe told me about this once, and I kind of come around to this. I think the brothers are a package deal. I think if you get rid of Quincy, you're getting rid of Quinnen too. And I don't want to get rid of Quinnen because he's really, really good.
Are you willing to pay Quincy the $15 million he's going to be asking for?
That's the thing, though.
That's right. There isn't a team in the NFL right now that's paying multiple off-ball linebackers $10 million or more a year. The Jets have Jamin Short at $15 million a year. Quincy's not going to ask for less than that. I can promise you that.
So that Sherwood contract is aging.
I thought he did have a good game against Denver. I thought I'm willing to. I'm not like as hard on Sherwood.
Yeah, but if you have to get rid of both Williamses. Because of that, yeah.
If you look at it from that perspective, sure. I think there's a chance Quinnen would ask for out regardless, but I think there's a real chance Quinnen Williams not on the roster.
I think if he doesn't, though, Quinnen is a guy that he's a guy you pay.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so
absolutely. I don't want to trade Quinnen Williams. I think there's going to be a situation where he wants to be traded. I wouldn't want to trade him if he wanted to stay here though.
But Quincy, I could see. All right, let's take Quinnen out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say hypothetically, for the sake of argument, in this contrived situation,
sure, that
Quinnen wants to stay long term, he's going to get a deal, and Quincy is. Then I'd probably put it at maybe 75-80%.
Is this what you think is going to happen, or what you want to happen?
What I think is going to happen. Okay. I think that if the Jets would, and also what I want to happen too, I think if there's some assurance that they can keep Quinnen Williams, I think it's easier to get rid of Quincy. Because I think Quincy is a big factor for Quinnen staying here.
Agreed.
So I think if you take that out of it and just look at it purely from like an asset value point of view, yeah, it makes a ton of sense. While he struggled early on, I think Francisco Mauigoa maybe turned a corner in the Denver game.
He did.
I don't think he's like a long-term starter, but I think he's a guy. I think he proved he's an NFL player to whatever degree. We'll find out. But yeah. I think Mauigoa took a step forward. I think for the rest of the year, you can kind of grit your teeth, and those are your two linebackers, and you figure something out a little bit later. I think San Francisco could use him, especially with Fred Warner out. I think that's the destination.
It's the obvious one. Like if he's going to be traded, the Niners make the most sense. I also think, and I'm glad you brought up Mauigoa. I really think obviously he's not a better player than Quincy Williams. I think he's a better fit for what they want their two linebackers to be. Outside it. Like I think having Sherwood and Quincy, I know it worked last year, but those are two very small linebackers.
And they're very aggressive and very aggressive.
And given the way that they're trying to run this defense, I don't think that's what they want. Mauigoa is a little bigger. He's a better tackler. I think he's more consistent of a tackler. I think that he is probably a better fit next to Sherwood than Quincy Williams is. And obviously you have him in a dirt cheap contract in the next few years. Now, I don't know if Mauigoa is starting caliber. He just had a really good game against Denver, but it's one game. He's a 5th-round rookie. I don't know.
He's a Blake Cashman. Who knows?
Maybe he's a Blake Cashman. I don't know. But
is he still with the Vikings? I think he's still bouncing around.
He's played well. He just again he has had injury issues still, which was an issue with the Jets. But yeah, I think I would put it a lot higher if he's healthy, which I think he will be healthy before the deadline. I think he's 70% gone, 60%, 65%. I think there's next to no chance that this team extends him, which I
just don't want this to be the predecessor to no Quinnen.
And
as good as the defensive tackle room has been,
I think it might be, but I don't think they're going to look at it as, well, we have to pay Quincy Williams $15 million over the next 3 years because we want to keep Quinnen. I don't think they're going to look at it that way. I think they're going to trade Quincy Williams, or, say, regardless, I don't think he's on the roster week 1 next year.
Yeah.
And then they're going to approach the Quinnen situation separately and say, well, what if he wants out? Maybe we can get a haul for him, right? Maybe we can get a first-round pick for him.
Do they have the same agent, the brothers?
Yeah, I believe Nicole Lynn is both of their agents.
Okay, that'll be something to watch.
Yeah, it will. Well, speaking of that, let's go to Quinnen then, right? Quinnen. We could talk about it, maybe what's going to happen in the offseason, but trade deadline. What are the odds you think Quinnen Williams is traded before the deadline?
At the deadline, 10%.
Fair.
I don't think he's a consideration. I think all the Quincy stuff. Okay, Mama Williams, naming them all very, very similar names to trick people up on podcasts over here. But I think the whole Quinnen thing, that'll get resolved in the offseason. I think if they do trade him in the offseason, I think they get a 1 for him. I think especially if they give the other team they're moving into some assurance that he's going to sign a long-term contract. So that way it's not like, hey, you might get a second for Trey Hendrickson if he plays 1 more year. It's not going to be one of those situations. I really don't want to see him go, though, because, again, this defense is not very good. They had a great game last week. They're not very good. And I think Harrison Phillips is a really good player, does what he's supposed to do. I think Jawan Briggs has been well better than anybody thought he'd be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put them together, they're not Quinnen Williams.
No.
And that's good. Again, this team they can afford to be bad next year, but they can't afford to be this bad again. And that seems like they're going to be this bad again move if they get rid of him.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be surprised if he was traded at the deadline. I think they would have to have a situation where some team just gives them a crazy offer and they're like, they maybe know internally.
They get like a Jamal Adams offer. I'm like, okay, maybe.
Well, no team is giving them 2 first. If some team gives them 2 first-round picks, you take that and run.
Yeah.
But
I get a hypothetical. Of course you do that. Yeah.
But I think it would have to be a situation where a team comes and gives them a first-round pick, and they kind of have it in their minds. They have a pulse on the situation and know that Quinnen has a good chance of asking out in the offseason, especially if Quincy's gone. And I think if that happens, if some team gives them a first right now, because I'm not sure they get a first, if he asks out in the offseason and he's already wanting a new contract, I don't know if he wants a first, man. I don't know if the Jets get a first for that. Like, I don't think they do. I don't think they have the leverage in that situation. So I think now would be the opportunity, if they were to trade him at the deadline, if some team is willing to be like, all right, we get the Cowboys, right? They're not going to do it because they got Kenny Clark. But I could see, maybe if they were more in the mix, right, and trying to legitimately make a playoff push this year and make a championship push, and they're like, well, we really need help in the interior of our defense. And Quinnen Williams is a fantastic player. He's awesome. I mean, maybe the Cowboys make a move. I don't know.
I'm just trying to think outside of San Francisco, again, makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to see who outside of...
Well, Dallas called about Quinnen in the Micah Parsons thing. But when they were shopping around Parsons, they called about Quinnen. I
wonder how this defense would look if they had no Quinnen but Micah Parsons.
What a weird situation.
Micah and Jermaine on the edges, that's pretty good.
It would definitely be better. Like 1,000% be better. I don't think anybody could argue that. But also you'd have to go with a first-round pick to do that. So glad the Jets probably didn't do that, because that could be first overall pick at this point. So glad they didn't do that. But I think the Cowboys could make sense there. I think
the Chargers, that'd be a good fit.
Ooh, give them Brees too. Package deal. I don't think
that could be good. Tampa.
Vita Vea and Quinnen.
Yeah. Good luck running the ball, man.
Oh, and they got Kalijah Kancey coming back next year too.
Oh
my God.
You make him like a one of those like bigger edges that Todd Bowles likes, like Muhammad Wilkerson.
Holy shit, they're winning the bowl if they get that. Yeah, I mean, look, there's
the Lions would be cool too.
Yes. I mean, the question again is any team willing to give up? I think if a team is willing to give up a first and the Jets have it on decent authority that Quinnen is probably going to be gone in the offseason, then they do it. If a team's willing to give up first and they think Quinnen is going to want to stay, then it's a discussion. Then it becomes we're not going to be forced into doing this. Do we want to give up Quinnen Williams? Do we think that the asset we're to get back, is better? Also, the Patriots just signed Leonard Taylor to their practice squad. Motherfucker. Yeah.
Hey, Leonard, you have your Jets playbook? Yeah, sure. Here you go, man. There you go.
Okay, now I'm not happy about that move. I was not super upset at
of all the teams he could have gone.
I'm like, it's a formality. He's gonna end up in a practice squad. Their defensive line, their interior D line while their D tackles have been good, they need pass rush, man. Like Quinnen has not been amazing as a pass rusher this year. Phillips offers nothing there. Briggs, I think, is a better run defender than pass rusher. Leonard Taylor is who they needed for that. And
but is he really like?
No, but him going to New England sucks. I thought they could sneak him through the practice squad.
He went to any other team, man.
Which he cleared waivers, but he's choosing to sign to the Patriots practice squad instead. Interesting.
You want to move on to stats after a couple comments?
Really quick. Let's just rapid fire percentages for these guys. Ready? Alan Lazard percentage.
125.
I'd be like 90%. 99%. Michael Carter.
99.
Woo! I don't know, man.
I just feel like he's not going to start after a guy will get in later.
I don't know if anybody is willing to take on that contract.
He's either all right. 99%. He's not going to play any meaningful snaps without an injury. I think Brownlee kind of wally pipped him in that game.
I'll say like 60% chance he's traded. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get anything.
He just needs a fresh coat of paint.
Either way, he might be back this week, by the way, because he was full participant. I think he uses a clear concussion protocol, but I think he might be back this week. If they start him over Jarvis Brownlee after what Brownlee just did last,
I'm so out.
Inexcusable. Like that I'm out on Wilkes again. Jermaine Johnson.
10.
Yeah,
I think that's a load of BS.
That would be
after that game. You trade him.
Really tough to sell me on trading. Jermaine is one of those like handful of players where I'm just like, I don't know how you could trade him. Like
now, admittedly, Michael Clemens has been good lately.
He's at and PFF grade, taking with a grain of salt, obviously, but two of his last 3 games have been 75 plus PFF grades. He hadn't had a 75 plus PFF grade since his rookie year. So
limited snaps, maybe. I don't know. Maybe just don't play him 50 snaps every game.
He's still a very limited player, but yeah, like. Jermaine is one of those guys that I just don't know how you trade him. He's everything you want to build around as a leader, as a performer on the field. He's at a position of need. But on that same note, Mike, last guy we'll mention, Will McDonald, because his name is also mentioned as a possible target for the 49ers.
I'd say probably 20.
Yeah.
Because he's still the best, I think, pass rusher, quote unquote.
He is.
Rushing on this team. So
there's no reason to trade him unless you're getting like a second-round pick at a minimum for him, I think.
And I don't know who would do that.
And I don't know. I don't want to say the minimum, but I don't think you're not obviously not getting it first. Maybe second is a little strong. A third round at a minimum, and even then, I think I'd kind of rather just have Will McDonald right now because it's not like you have to pay him yet. He's still under contract. So 2023, 4, 5. He's going to be under contract with the 5th-year option through 2027. You don't have to make a decision right now. You don't have to trade him. There's no reason to unless you get a really good haul.
Let's talk Jets Panthers. Because
all right, yeah, we'll skip the stats, go to the preview. We mentioned Brownlee and Mount.
We can mention them in it because here was my concern with Carolina. Their defense is not very good, even though they shut out a team this year in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to operate exactly like Denver operated in that their defensive line, I think, is better than it has. But Derek Brown is very good.
Yep,
they use two. I think Princely Uman-Milan's kind of more like a Will McDonald-y pass rusher, but he's okay.
Is Tershawn Wharton hurt right now?
I think he is. Nick Scorton, I think, has been a very good draft pick for
He's limited, so Wharton was limited. He might return this week.
And then Wharton, he could come back. So that's a defensive line that's better. Then what they do is they play a ton of zone, ton of cover 3.
Mm-hmm.
Denver does a lot more man, but they played a lot of zone, and Fields just had no idea what to do with them. So you just play a ton of zone. Even if Garrett Wilson has not been ruled out officially, if he was going to play, which he's probably not going to, but if he was going to play, they were just going to put J.C. Horn, who's their one good secondary guy, stick him on Garrett Wilson, and dare somebody else to beat him. And you know what? I don't know if somebody else can beat him. Maybe Mason Taylor gets like 15 catches, but this formula is exactly the same formula that Denver used to completely tear Fields apart with inferior players and inferior coaching. But we have not seen Justin Fields been able to throw the ball against zone coverage that isn't prevent.
Yeah,
he does not know how to do it. Man, actually, it's better for him because if guys get downfield enough, he can just take off and run.
Well, it's easier to process it. Like it's harder to process zone coverage in the NFL, especially with all like phantom coverages. Sometimes, like if DCs are disguising coverage schemes, like it can be difficult. By the way, somebody asked. Park Bums asked, would Sauce possibly get traded? No,
absolutely not.
Sauce is not getting traded.
Absolutely,
especially not. They just extended them. The insane amount of dead cap they would take on I don't even think the extension is kicked in yet.
You have to take like $100 million in dead cap.
The extension is not kicked in yet, so the amount of money that they would take on is dead cap if Sauce got traded. It's impossible.
And again, imagine the secondary, as bad as it is, without him. Imagine it.
Sauce is not somebody you trade. You're not trading Sauce.
Absolutely not. So,
but yeah,
I'm that's one where, like, obviously, like, Bryce Young is going to probably decide this game either way or not. But I think defensively, the formula's there. And I think the Panthers are smart enough to at least follow it, and the Jets just don't have the firepower to overcome it.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields decides this game. Like, if it depends on what version of Fields they get. If they get even,
is this just going to be our every preview for the rest of the year? Like, if we get Pittsburgh Fields, they might win. If we get Denver Fields, they lose.
I mean, that's kind of been what it is, right? Because we've now seen the defense play well. Look, okay, we get from the defensive perspective. I really want to see how they hold up against this Carolina running game because. I mean, the Panthers, Rico Dowdle running all over the last couple teams that he's played. Now, granted, not the best run defenses, Dallas last week, but I mean, like the Panthers' offensive line isn't even that good on paper. Like it's really
okay, isn't it?
I mean, Cade Mays is their starting center.
Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis.
Okay, I don't know how Brady Christensen's playing a right guard. I remember he was a tackle. I don't know how he's playing it.
Taylor Moton's pretty good too.
Isn't Moton hurt?
I think he's playing this week, isn't he?
He returned to practice. So he didn't play last week.
Ekwonu has been disappointing.
He didn't play last week, and they ran, Dowdle ran for over 200 yards against Dallas.
Wait a minute. Wasn't Ekwonu? I remember when they took Sauce, weren't people like, they should have got.
Yeah. Yep. He's been very disappointing, Ickey Ekwonu. Yeah.
I mean, he started off pretty good, and then he has the reverse Broderick Jones.
You know what it is?
He started off good, and then he just regressed.
You know what it is, too? Tommy Tremble's a beast in the run game. Like, he's an awesome blocker. And so is Mitchell Evans. He's a pretty good blocker, too. Like, I think that's really helped them. But, like, the offensive line doesn't scare me. Their receiving room, Tet versus Sauce will be very fun. Or, sorry, Teteroa. He doesn't want to be called Tet. Teteroa versus Sauce will be very fun.
I know we were talking about him in the in our draft stuff last year because him and Tyler Warren were two of the hot names. Both of them look very good, by the way.
Yeah.
He was – I know there was some problem. That was as safe a receiver pick as you're going to find.
Yeah. I wasn't as high on him as others, but, like, he's been really good. And I was probably lower on him than I should have been.
So now, what do you think of Bryce Young? Because I for some reason, not to be like, the media or whatever, but like, I thought Bryce Young the second half of last year was better. I think people overhyped how good he was.
Mm-hmm.
I think there have been times this year where he's looked almost unplayable in a field sort of way. Now he has a better processing brain where he can overcome a historically outlier size.
You're not as concerned about the accuracy with him as you are with Fields, obviously.
You're not as concerned about the accuracy, but like, all right, let me do this exercise right now. If Bryce Young is the quarterback of the Jets and not Justin Fields, what's their record?
At least 1-5. I mean, they win last week. They beat Denver. I don't know if because Pittsburgh.
I don't think they beat Pittsburgh because Fields is going to get in that game.
Pittsburgh, they probably should have won, but that wasn't obviously Fields played great. Yeah, I mean they're at least 1-5. You could maybe they beat Miami. I think they might beat Miami.
If Justin Fields is on Carolina, are they worse or better?
Worse, absolutely worse, 100% worse. I don't know if that's a question.
I can't get over.
Fields has absolutely been worse than Bryce Young this year.
He is like Fields takes a ton of sacks, but like Bryce Young has a couple plays a game where it's like Looney Tunes, just boom, eyes jump out, and he's fumbling and flipping and chucking down. I'm like, Bryce Young's a rougher watch sometimes than Justin Fields, even with all the sacks.
I can't say that after last week.
Last week was an outlier.
Well, you get more mistakes from Young. But you get more mistakes from almost any quarterback than Justin Fields because Fields doesn't want to make mistakes. He's so risk averse, at least at this stage of his career.
And they're still not telling him to be more risky.
I know. I think Young is comfortably like the 24th, 23rd best quarterback in the league. Like
that's probably higher than I'd have him.
Where would you have him? 26?
Let's see. So if I had
24 is fine, reasonable for him.
I was gonna say like 28 or 29.
Whoa! I would.
Like I'd have like Rattler over him. I'd have Penix over him.
Yeah, but I
think I'd probably put Jackson Dart close to him.
It's too early for me to say that about Dart. I don't know. Give me a couple more games. Let's see what he does. They're playing Denver this week, right? Let's see what he does against Denver. Let's see what he does against that defense. No, I mean, look, you're talking about like Dylan Gabriel. Bryce Young is better than Dylan Gabriel.
Oh yeah,
he's better than Joe Flacco, who's currently the Bengals starter. If we're on unless you're going to count Burrow, right? I mean, he's
bums. Bryce Young makes the worst play you've ever seen, and then makes the greatest play you've ever seen.
Yeah, He's at least he's more he's volatile, but he's had more
Fields
highlights.
would do that with the Bears a little bit, but
yes, well, he's definitely better than Fields this year. Absolutely, I don't think that's a question in my mind. You know, I think Bryce Young's fine. Like they're not, if Young doesn't throw away this game for them, like that's all they really need him to do. I'm very interested to see what this defense does against the running game, against Carolina's running game. I also mentioned in chat, Jalen Coker is coming back this week. That's a big return for them. Coker really came on last year. Shout out to Holy Cross. Leggett, I know he just had a good game last week, but been very disappointing, underwhelming in his career. Hunter Renfrow is just whatever. I have Jimmy Horn, sure. Like the receiving core doesn't scare me. And then defensively, JC Horn's really good. Again, it's come down to what Fields does, right? I don't think this Carolina defense is that bad. Like I think they've had bad weeks.
I think it's poorly coached and poorly coordinated.
I think they've had bad weeks, but there's talent. Like there's more talent. Looking at this depth,
I feel like we're talking about Steve Wilkes.
Maybe
it's bad. It's badly coordinated.
Who's Carolina's DC?
Ejiro Evero.
That's wow. Well, that's actually kind of surprising.
He was supposed to be like a head coach in waiting. He fell off hard.
He was great in Denver. Yeah.
And then they improved, oddly enough, with Vance Joseph. So.
I mean, looking at that D-line, on paper, that's a good D-line. Derek Brown, A'Shawn Robinson is still a fine, nose tackle. Tershawn Wharton, Patrick Jones.
A'Shawn Robinson is one of my favorite players. That you always joke around like, oh, these guys are, in college, like, oh, that's not a 21-year-old. There was a picture of him at Alabama, and he had like a beard and a shaved head. I'm like, yeah, he looks like he's 48 here. And he's 21. I'm like, there's no way.
All right. We got to wrap up in a sec. So final predictions, score predictions. Mike, what are you saying?
Jets 16, Panthers 20.
Oh, for a second.
I think the defense stays hot.
You were leading with Jets. I thought you were going to predict the Jets.
Nah, I think the defense, if Garrett Wilson was playing, I think there might be an upset.
Yeah.
But Fields is going to have to throw the ball 25 times this game or drop back 25, 30 times. And what Mason Taylor's going to get 10 targets? Josh Reynolds going to get 10 targets?
The way they win is if Breece just goes nuts.
Or Breece goes nuts, which I don't think is going to happen against Derek Brown. So
I want Breece to go nuts because up that trade value, buddy. Let's go. Let's get a third. Let's get a third while we're at it. I'll say Panthers. Yeah, I'll say Panthers like 17. Jets. We'll say Jets 10. Well, we'll say Jets 12. They don't.
You're that out on Fields, huh?
They don't get a touchdown. They get 4 field goals from.
You're that out on them.
Why? They 12 points. I mean, what the hell am I supposed to think, Mike? After what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
All right, if he plays like he did in the Miami game, second half.
Well, yeah, then they can absolutely win this game. But I'm not confident he's going to. Brian says 32-19 Panthers. Rico Doodle has been unstoppable.
It sounds like a kid's show.
If I'm able to believe the Jets have found their solution. Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to pick the Jets to win a game until they prove that we should pick otherwise. But anyway,
Justin, sign us off because we gotta make way for some other podcasts. So
thank you all for joining us on the show today at this unusual day of Thursday. We'll be back on Sunday after the Jets' possible 7th loss of the season. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMichaelChon. Follow me on Twitter, Justin T. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know what to do. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and live immediately following every single Jets game. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That's Mike Luciano. Marcelo says Jets 2019. We'll see, man. We'll see. Hopefully.
We can only hope.